The first State House tenants kicked out of their homes due to flawed meth testing are about to have their compensation claims paid out. A regulation change was needed before any beneficiaries could receive payments to ensure that the payouts don't result in people's benefits being cut. The change was signed off by Cabinet on Monday, but it has taken 4 days for Housing New Zealand to confirm that to Checkpoint, as the Housing Minister Phil Twyford didn't want to speak about it until next week. 800 tenants could be eligible for several $1,000s each in compensation after being evicted between 2013 and this year due to the flawed testing. Now, Michelle Cook has been following this story and filed this report.
Lima and Pauline Herbert and their 3 young grandchildren were kicked out of their Housing New Zealand home in 2016 after traces of methamphetamine were found on the property. Scared their belongings were contaminated, as suggested on the test report HNZ ordered, the family threw everything out. Now they want $15,000 in compensation, and HNZ told Mr Herbert this week that's exactly the figure he'll get. Mr Herbert says the Crown Agency relied on him to be honest when deciding on the compensation figure.
I know if you were dealing with an insurance company, they would want receipts, they would want proof of purchase and all these sorts of things. In terms of what happened here, to me, they didn't ask for any proof of, any of the furniture and stuff. How they assessed it was on the size of your property.
Mr Herbert's compensation is significantly more than the initial average estimate given by Housing New Zealand, which estimated tenants would be reimbursed between $2,500 and $3,000 each. Mr Herbert says while he's been upfront from the beginning, others could try to make false claims.
There are going to be obviously people who are going to try and take advantage. I don't know, but I was just thankful that I got a good result. I put it down to being upfront, being honest.
While Mr Herbert has accepted the offer and at least one other claim was finalised last week, the regulation change needed to go ahead before anyone could receive any money.
We're going to fix the problem pretty quickly. It's going to take a change to regulations. It doesn't need a legislation change in the Parliament. It can be simply taken through Cabinet and dealt with by order in Council. The point I want to make, though, is that this issue has not and will not cause any delay to the compensation payments.
That was Housing Minister Phil Twyford exactly 1 month ago, just a week after learning a regulation change was needed. But the Minister has refused to tell us when the change was scheduled to go ahead, and HNZ also repeatedly refused to tell us for 4 days until they confirmed it this afternoon. And while Mr Herbert has been told he should receive his money in the next 2 weeks, for him the payout is the final chapter of a saga that should have never happened in the first place.
Well, it's a relief actually, knowing that it's over, and we can move on with our lives, not having any anything coming back from what happened to us 2 years ago. So yeah, I'm thankful that it's over.
Mr Herbert plans to use some of his payout towards furniture he bought on hire purchase to replace the items he threw out, but most of the money will be spent on his grandchildren. Hopefully, he says, in time for Christmas. For Checkpoint, Michelle Cook.
The agency's website lists 4 cases as having been completed, but Housing New Zealand says only one of those is for compensation, while 3 cases were where people had simply asked questions which were answered. The website also states 130 cases have been approved, a jump from 116 in progress last week, but it's not clear how many of those are claims for compensation either. We hope to provide you with some more details about this, but both Minister Phil Twyford and Housing New Zealand refused to talk to Checkpoint for this story.